How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It's been a fat minute since I've really uploaded anything. I've been working on a solo album that's coming out on June 1st, so if you're interested in that, it'll be posted at um, my other channel that I just started for music called The Wandering Penitent, and I will leave my channel link in the description if you guys want to check that out. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram both, so if you guys really want to keep up to date, make sure you follow those. But anyway, today we are looking at my top 5 black metal albums. The reason it says 2023 in the title is not because any of these were released in 2023, but because I'll be making the exact same video next year on the same day to see if any of my tastes have changed. So I just wanted to keep track of the years. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Love. Spirit is immersing, permeating every breath.
Alrighty, coming in at the number 5 spot, we have a album by Kekht Arakh, I think is how you say his name, and it is Love and Night, and the song you just heard was Love, and this song is a very, very classic, or this album I should say, is a very classic style of like black metal. You start off with, a song called Intro, and then you just work your way down into, you basically have like every 3 songs you've got like a little intermission, which would be like a piano part, or just a more simple, ambient or instrumental piece. Um, and this album was a huge, or has been a huge inspiration for my album, which is really awesome because I didn't really even think about putting piano into a metal album. Like I just, mind blown. So yeah. But anyway, I really enjoy the mixing style, and I enjoy solo groups because I think um, 4 out of my 6 people on this list, there's 6 because there's an honorable mention, but 4 out of my 6 people on this list are all solo creators. So alright, so number 4 is Total Self-Hatred's Total Self-Hatred album. It's a self-titled one. The song you just heard was Roshoka, I think is how you say it. And without a doubt, I mean, instantly, this album doesn't seem like it fits in with what everybody else was doing in the black metal scene around 2005, which is typically sticking closer to like the more aggressive style of mixing, the more compressed, like up front in your face type mixing, which I think is really awesome, and that's why they made it onto this list, because um, they have an extremely bright mixing style, and they're less ambient, and they're a lot more closely related to like modern day metal. And obviously, around the early 2000s, a lot of new metal was developing and things like that. And I mean new in NEW and also NU metal was developing. And also a lot of death metal was coming to fruition and things like that. So, um, yeah, I just think it was a perfect time for them to develop something that was more unique. And so that's why I made it on my list. But, sweet. Alrighty. Number 3, we have Leviathan, and this album is called The 10th Sub-Level of Suicide, and the song I picked was Submersed. It's a completely instrumental song, which I absolutely love, and instrumentals are just my absolute favorite on most albums, as long as it's not like 100% instrumental. But yeah, anyway, this album I think was was a pinnacle of early ambiance in black metal, and you didn't really a lot of a lot of songs or a lot of bands like Mayhem and Burzum and things like that in my opinion, didn't do a whole lot with like real ambience. It was kind of more just like instrumentals, which is a little different. But Leviathan kind of changed that in the early 2000s, which was really awesome. And yeah, again, it's another solo creator, and I absolutely just love the super classic mixing style mixed in with like more of a modern take on metal. So. Alrighty, and then coming in at number 2, this one was hard to put in the number 2 spot, I'm not gonna lie, but it's Zaster's A Gate Through Bloodstained Mirrors, and the song I picked was Suicide and Dark Serenity, which was the very first song I ever heard by Zaster. Funny enough, I was on YouTube one day, and I don't know how I came across it, but I came across a an album, or I guess it was probably an EP called The Dark Bleeding by Amit, and it was just the most I don't even, it was the most cursed like thing I've ever heard. It was interesting. It was a very 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 cool concept, but you know. But anyway, this album, The Gate Through Bloodstained Mirrors, is really what got me into black metal, like for the first time. Um, well, I shouldn't say it's like the first thing that got me into it because Ghostbath pretty much was, but it pretty much got me into dark ambiance. And this 12-minute song on this album, most of the songs on the album are like 6 minutes and above, which I absolutely love. I don't like songs that are like 3 minutes long unless it's a you know completely instrumental song and it's just like a little interlude. But this Zaster was able to, with his style so distinct that you can hear one of his songs and immediately just go, yeah, that's him. Because he puts like, he has some weird distortion, but that sounds so pretty like on his guitars. It's something else. But um, I honestly think he kind of created like his own genre of black metal, which would be something closer to like void gaze, but it's not because I don't know. It's so hard to decide, like, because I probably wouldn't put him in black metal, but just because his style is something completely different. But Zaster, hands down, has been the biggest inspiration for making this album. Obviously, I'm not trying to imitate like his style or anything because it's literally impossible. Because he just, I don't know. One thing I really like about Zaster though is that when you listen to his music, you can hear little. Sometimes his panning is so classic and or his mixing, sorry, his mixing is so like classic, and it almost seems like this is gonna sound like bad, but it almost seems like he was carefree when making the album because there's a lot of times where you can hear like little hear panning in your right ear, and you'll hear him like press down the strings on the guitar before he starts playing it. But I absolutely love that type of stuff when you can hear like it just makes it a lot more raw. And so all the guitar parts on my album, except for one song, were ones that have never been written, and I literally just started playing and recorded it, and I have no idea how to play those now, which is, might be a bad thing for some, but I love how absolutely raw, like, the feeling of Zaster's albums are, you know? And so I think that it's very important to continue that style in one way or another, because there's a lot of songs like that he has where you can hear little, like, mess ups, so to speak, and I think that that's really cool. Alright, and now we have our honorable mention before we get to the number one spot. So, Ghostbath, as you just heard, the Self-Loather album, and that song was Sanguine Mask. So, Ghostbath was the very first black metal band I ever got into, and that's why I corrected myself when I said Zaster was the one that got me into it. But Ghostbath has 3 guitar players, a bassist, a drummer, and I think that's actually it. So, because one of them's a singer anyway. But yeah, so Ghostbath has a very, very modern mixing style because it just came out in like 2012. And I've met them in person too because I went and saw them live at like a really small show that was happening in my town. And they are super cool dudes. And if you ever get the chance to see them live, definitely go do it. Same with like all the other black metal bands that they tour with, like Rotting Christ and Yada, or however you say that. And yeah, they're just really, really cool to see in person. But um, honestly, Self-Loather is one of my favorite like overall albums. It just has a very, I don't know, it's a very encapsulating like trance album. I don't know, it's really cool. But yeah, if you guys are into black metal or want to get into black metal, they are definitely your number one people to start with. So. Alright, and coming in at the number one spot is Lost Inside's Morning Wet Beside Me. So, this was a really tough pick between Zaster and Lost Inside, but the main reason I went with Lost Inside is because, to me, they had the absolute best ambiance, and it was spatially mixed, like, perfectly, in my mind. And it was just mixed on every side, perfectly, and it was really cool. It was really amazing to listen to, and every song on that album just kind of like you can't stop listening to it. And there's a lot of times where I'll have my Spotify on my computer, and it's like 1:30 in the morning, and it just happens perfectly. I think Spotify like knows when I'm about to go to bed because it just starts playing it, and I can't go to bed until it's done. So, uh, but the song you heard was called, I think, like Four Walls. I'd have to look at the exact like name, but it starts with Four Walls, and it is one of the most like amazing black metal songs I've ever heard because it's so ambient, and it has such a it's like a minute and a half intro, and then it just like builds up into more of an aggressive sort of part in the song, and then that song breaks back down into the intro and then builds back up. So it's really cool. And also another really interesting fact about this little group. It's not even really a group. It's like, well, it is because it's two guys, but um, they've only released two albums. They released one in 2000 and then another one in 2011, and that's all they've ever done. But the first album that they released was Stoner Rock, and it was like it was kind of bad. I'm not gonna lie. And so I went and I was like, all right, because they popped up on like a chill playlist or something like that I had on Spotify. Their Stoner Rock did, and I was like, that's terrible. And then I clicked on their thing to see more about them, and then that's how I got introduced to their black metal. So yeah, and they have a very very unique style, and it's like literally what I look for when I think of black metal. Obviously everybody's different. Some people want a little bit more compressed and like straight to the point, like mayhem type stuff. But yeah. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. I'm super excited to release my very first solo album on June 1st. I also will have a single coming out on March 1st, so be on the lookout for that. Make sure to go follow the pages if you want to stay updated on that. So, yeah, thank you guys so much. Let me know in the comments if you guys disagree with any of these or would pick anything else. I don't know. And we'll find out in a year if these have stayed the same. But anyway, thank you guys so much.